Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Catalyst Energies. My name is Dee. Thank you for joining me. I'm so grateful that you're here. It is March 1st, 2021, and this is the Daily Medicine Transmission. So we are post full moon. We had it was an interesting weekend. There was some intense solar weather that landed this morning. The Schumann spiked up just around the same time, and we're going to talk about all of that stuff. We are now in March. Things are going to start moving. They're going to start moving. And this weekend and this full moon, did it not show us exactly what we needed to see? It's not what we wanted to see. In a lot of cases, there were many examples of people really struggling, I think, with this solar weather that was coming in. I know myself, I was rendered completely useless over the weekend, which is really my lesson in stillness and taking a step back and allowing energy to integrate through my body, as I've talked about many, many times. And we can sit here and intellectualize it all day, but it's about the experience that really is the beginning of wisdom. And so that is the title of the transmission today, because the fire of our understanding is really not the only aspect. The fire and the passion coming into the moment is an important component to wisdom, but it's not the only component, and it's our experience as well, and the understanding of that experience, which is really what leads to wisdom. So we're still in the middle of this lunar cycle that started with a new moon in Aquarius, overcoming our passions to teach from a place of deep wisdom. And this full moon was a really big eye-opener for many of us, and it was showing us what we still need to work on, and was very uncomfortable and continues to be uncomfortable in a lot of ways, either through your physical body. Virgo has a lot to do with our health regimen, what we do on a daily basis to take care of ourselves, so our diet, the foods and the water that we drink, the content that we consume on all levels is very much part of the Virgo archetype, because it is about what we are doing on a daily basis to condition and discipline and train our physical vessel. The moon is now in Libra. It has moved from Virgo to Libra. So the analysis that goes along with Virgo is now meant to be applied out in the world in the shared experience. That is the Libra archetype, is about the application of knowledge in order to find balance, to find peace of mind, to find justice, to have the scales be balanced in a shared experience. So there's a lot of wishy-washiness when it comes to the moon in Libra, because we are, in fact, very fluid when we're talking about the moon. It is a very transient, emotional, feeling-based aspect that changes a lot, and trying to apply that to a very distinct set of behaviors that find balance can be really challenging, and we can find ourselves moving very effortlessly from one position to another, struggling to find a balance. And there's not really necessarily an outer balance to our emotions. That's something that we each individually have to cultivate from within, and be willing to ride the oscillation and the wave, so to speak, and find that balance even deeper. And that really is what the full moon showed us, where our blind spot has been around this. And it's been very uncomfortable, very uncomfortable. As with a lot of full moons, there was a release, and in some cases, it forced us into that position. So there was a lot of solar weather that came in, and it was unusually strong. And so if you were feeling that in any way, the ringing in the ears, incredible amount of inflammation, headaches, just a feeling of the quote unquote ascension flu. There was a lot of that going around. I know that I experienced it very, very strongly, which led me to accept so much of that my process, I need to do exactly what I am teaching people, which is to allow time and space for these upgrades in actual electromagnetic radiation to find a way to integrate into the physical vessel. It takes time when we're still in this physical vessel. So I know that like I said, I was rendered kind of useless and had all these plans of doing certain astrology reports for the full moon and whatnot, and those are coming. But at the same time, it was a very clear and unavoidable stop and sleep and rest and let this process unfold. Many people I encountered over the weekend were complaining about, and I shouldn't say complaining in a negative way, they were expressing their discomfort with their symptoms and wondering what's going on. So I want to show you actually, I want to show you where you can track these things if you don't already know, and just give you a sense of what this solar weather. That's how I always feel now. The solar weather, when we get intense solar weather, not so much with the Schumann anymore, but intense solar weather, because it's all electromagnetic radiation. Light and magnetism is all coming from the same place. And it's just the way that the magnetism is the energy that is shared as a result of opposite charges of light and photons. Well, actually opposite charges of matter, right? When things are, and that does have to do with light, because the amount of electrons in an atom are responsible for what its charge is, especially if it's not neutral. All atoms are meant to be in a neutral state of balance, protons and electrons and neutrons all being balanced. When electrons are not balanced to the amount of negatively charged electrons are not balanced to positively charged protons, this is how you get ions. And when there is too much imbalance, this is when you get homeostasis in the physical world. And so that can come out as lightning when the atmosphere is too charged one way or the other. And when you have too much charge, too many ions, that in one way or the other, magnetism is the result of the attraction between positive and negative. So that's neither here nor there necessarily, but it does factor into what we're about to talk about, which is how we are actually impacted by things like solar weather and the Schumann resonance, which is really just the frequency, right? The amount of wavelengths per second, that is what a frequency is, of the electromagnetic field surrounding the Earth, right? And so when that increases, people tend to feel some sort of connection to that, because we are in itself, we have an electromagnetic field, and our hearts are an electrical pump. Right? Our nervous system is built on the electrical circuits. It's a circuitry, right? Our nervous system functions based on electrical signals as a result of ionic charge of certain elements, calcium and sodium, for instance, and the ions of those, and that's how electrical signals. So we are electrical, and our heart creates an electromagnetic field, because anything electrical is creating that field. And so we do have a connection when it happens with the Earth. And this reinforces how much we are a part of the organic structure of the Earth, and the inorganic as well, because we're not talking necessarily fully about carbon, right? Because that's the baseline of organic life, is carbon specifically. But even inorganic, we're still connected to the processes of everything that has to do with this planet. So we are impacted when these things happen. And it's when you know this and you track it, and you are also tracking the transits astrologically, and all the planets and the moon and the sun, they all have their own electromagnetic fields. They all have their impact when they interact with each other. This has a physical impact on us. And so the research around this is really in its infancy, from what I can tell. And so all we can do is look at what is and has been discovered through our current scientific method, and realize that science is never settled, and the scientific method is about testing hypotheses and developing theories as a result hypotheses being tested over and over and coming up with the same conclusion. So let's look at this real quick. Spaceweather.com. This is the auroras that were photographed in Alaska as of last night. So in Fairbanks. So this says that March is the most geomagnetically active month of the year because there are cracks in the Earth's magnetic field. So solar winds pour in to impact. So in some ways, the Schumann resonance in the electromagnetic field extends past the surface of the planet and can act as a buffer for us when these solar winds come. And so when they landed, you saw, as we see here, I'll show you here, a huge spike in the Schumann. This was up to about 48 hertz when the Schumann resonance is, functioning at a 7 to 8 hertz. And so the frequency got higher, the wavelength got shorter. It was a higher energy. And there tends to be a correlation, not always, but there tends to be a correlation with the Schumann resonance and solar winds. And so there was an impact from the landing of these solar winds. But as they were on their way, people were really feeling it because the Schumann was very quiet up until just a couple of hours ago, I'd say. If you look at this here, this is where we are right this moment. So maybe about 8 hours ago or so, overnight and yesterday, there was a big spike. And so people were really feeling it. Leading up to this point, and the full moon was on Saturday night, very Saturday morning, Friday night. And so this was a point of release, and it did not come easily. And it feels to me that this full moon was one of those, I don't want to say last moments, but because of the energy of March being so strong and moving very quickly, and as Mars is going to move out of Taurus into Gemini, things are going to start moving, and we're going to find ourselves really in the flow of that. And this was a moment where we really had a lot burned away, which is very interesting with the sun in Pisces and the moon in Virgo. It's such a feminine, watery, receptive type of energy, but at the same time, with it in conjunction with Vesta, I actually wrote a piece about this on social media. This is about the fire. The fire is the fire under the cauldron is what allows us to come to understanding, because understanding is really the synthesis of opposing ideas or differing ideas and finding something new that comes out of it. This is, in some ways, the Hegelian dialectic, but we're talking from a spiritual perspective here. So the reason I'm talking about the Schumann resonance coming into this weekend along with the full moon is that it was like a burning away, and it brought up a lot of things right to the surface that we may have thought we were done with, that we absolutely are not done with or have not allowed to be burned away and purified. And there are many different ways that this can come about. And so, like I said, many people had physical symptoms and were feeling ill and really had to take a step back. Other people lost loved ones over the weekend. I also, people's hidden, I wouldn't say so hidden, but aspects about our anxiety, our depression, our mental health, things like that also coming to the surface and being re-triggered in some ways to show us that we haven't really quite gotten over that point yet. So this full moon was a big one, because as we move into March now, we're going to have to move forward in what we are learning. And the wisdom is not coming just from the passion and the combustion fire that burns away, but it's also from not only the release, but it's what we understand about that experience. And this is where coming into having a very strong faith in whatever your religious practice or spiritual practice is really, really important right now, because our faith is being tested on a regular basis. And this past full moon showed us a lot about that and gave us opportunities to have our faith tested even more by challenging us. So We can look at the astrology for today just to kind of, let's see here, kind of get an idea of what we are looking at today. So here is the chart for today. The moon is in Libra, and as I had said in the last video, you can see here that everything is being kind of stretched over to where this moon is, while everything else is kind of situated at the end of a cycle and beginning of the cycle. The moon is going to be in opposition to Chiron. It is in a trine to Saturn. It's going to trine all the Aquarius energy. So our application of knowledge and this internalized and emotional drive to find balance will very much be supported and find some traction with all of this Aquarius energy, which is about getting into the flow of our experience and finding balance that way. We know that it's balance because we trust the natural law and we're in the flow of that. Aquarius is it's unconventional and autonomous, but that's because it is outside of just the physical reality that Capricorn represents and is the glue that holds it all together, which is love, right? Aquarius and Pisces. Aquarius is about the mental understanding of that, whereas Pisces is about the experience of that. And again, these two things fit together to come to some sort of conclusion about why we're here and our connection to everything else. So, but we're in this position now where we have to apply what we've learned, what we've analyzed with the moon in Virgo, especially having it be so full and so illuminated for that one brief moment. Now we're applying it. And when we get to the intuitive reading, we'll see that we still have some things that we're struggling with, because the general feeling here is that many of us are still not feeling very confident and secure in our reality, in who we are, and the natural process that is unfolding. Because we want things to happen, and they're happening all right, but they may not be happening the way that we want them to happen. And this is where faith gets tested even more. And so we're looking to find some balance, apply what we've learned and what we've experienced to finding balance in the shared experience, and the connection to Saturn, the connection to Mercury, and also the connection to the North Node. All of this mental energy today is really going to be supportive of each other, a trine to Jupiter. But where it's going to find resistance is in the Taurus energy, the Pisces energy, all of the feminine aspects that are represented with Neptune and Pisces and Uranus and Taurus, and even in opposition to Chiron and Aries. We're again really trying to find that center right now, and it's really going to come through a balance in our mental perspective and being very real with ourselves and applying what we've learned. But I feel as if we are struggling in a certain way to also be in the moment and to have confidence in ourselves and our ability to ground into reality here and what we've built so far. Pluto has entered the next degree. When Pluto moves a degree, it's a big shift because it moves so slowly. We're getting closer and closer to the Pluto return exact of the United States. Okay, this whole process that started this year is really the bigger process of a Pluto return for the United States. So major death and rebirth energy of the United States is in effect right now. So moving to 27 degrees Capricorn is, it's the pilgrimage up the mountain. We're really going to start getting tested now. Because for up to this point, it had been more about, the transformation around our ability to build, what our culture has allowed us to build upon, right? That gets stripped away. And we have to be like, now we have to, face the emptiness of what that is in order to rebuild something. Then we move on to the fact that there is an underlying energy that is pervasive in all life, that gets pulled away to a certain extent because we have to get even deeper and trust something even more even more hidden in some ways. It's just getting tested. And now it is the pilgrimage up the mountain. Pluto is just being like, okay, well, I'm going to, every aspect of this path that has been laid before is about to get destroyed. And we are moving into uncharted waters. I mean, that's just all there is to it. And Pluto is the force of our transformation and our power. And sometimes it brings us literally to our knees. And this full moon showed us a lot about that and what we are going to do in response to that, because there is a quickening here in terms of the collective process. So today, it is really about applying what we've learned to find a sense of balance, at least within us. And as the month, this first couple of days is a big deal, and the moon's going to move into Scorpio. So you bet that we are going to get into the depths, some deep waters of our own emotions, as we find that, Mercury is going to trine the North Node in Aquarius and Gemini, and Mars is going to enter Gemini as well. And so once that happens, that sprout has popped up out of the soil and is heading towards the sun now. And so there will be a breakthrough. And Mars is going to be the one breaking through, the god of war. So just be mindful of that as we move through, and how much this full moon was really setting us up to burn away what was left. Or even just give yourself an opportunity to just sit back and stop and let some things integrate. Otherwise, there's no room for anything else to come in. And it's coming regardless. These are huge cycles. And there's not going to be a path that's going to be very, very visible with Pluto now in the mix. In terms of the path that has been tread this whole time. We are forging a new path now, and Pluto is making sure. Do you remember that scene in Alice in Wonderland when she's trying to get home, and it's kind of towards the end of the movie, and she's really lost now, and I don't remember, they're some sort of creature that was like a broom, and it kept sweeping away the pathway that she was following. That's what I'm getting, except it's even more big and powerful and dark, right? Is just bye-bye. There's no pathway. We are forging the pathway, and man, it's intense. So let's look at the reading. I could talk about that all damn day. Here we go. So as we see passion coming into the moment, the lust card, number 11, or strength, Queen of Swords in the heart of the moment from Virgo to Libra. And we see that Uriel at the top here there's so much more digging to be done. And we know this. This is where a conscious awareness is to get down to the root of things. But we are really, I think, seriously feeling powerless at the moment, even though we know that we still have to get down under into a deeper aspect of ourselves. And Uriel is the fire of God. So again, fire burning away and doing the transformative work. And again, the Queen of Keys being reversed, we are not feeling very confident in what we have built so far, or our responsibility to it as well. So we'll talk about that, and I want to go through each of these. And ultimately, where we're headed here, the art, number 14, temperance being reversed. If we are not grounded, if we are not feeling very confident in this natural process, if we are not realizing that we are on the pathway to the actual ascension, whatever that means to you, your wishes being fulfilled. This card is coming up a lot for how much people are not seeing it. We are in the process of doing this. But what I do see is that there is going to be a breaking out and a breakthrough coming as a result of what we have analyzed and learned, and then applying it. So let's look at these aspects one by one. So here's passion, upright, number 11, right? The woman riding the multi-headed beast, pushing something up above the surface. Look at all the snakes that are like surrounding it, but then it's got this all these rays of light coming out as well. This is that part of us, the passion part of us, the Leo part of us, the sun aspect that is what drives us to create anything in the first place. It is the fifth house. It is what gets us going, because when we tap into that, then we become a channel for divine energy to move through source energy to move through. And it starts with being open to allowing this blood to move through us. Leo is the heart, right? Again, I talked about this. The Leo energy is the heart. The heart is what pumps the blood. And in Chinese medicine, the blood, and Ayurvedic too, is what carries the chi, right? Carries the life force energy. And so this is what gets the blood moving through us. And this is the energy coming into the moment. There's been a lot of passion, the fire, the combustion. And it is, I feel like with the energy of the solar weather, that came in, this is a lot of it too. The sun's just spewing energy towards us and really lighting us up, and getting our blood moving. And so coming into the moment, again, this passion to do something, this passion to be ourselves, this passion that is what stimulates us eventually to create something new. But we have to have this passion first to even get there. So that's coming into the moment. And here's the Queen of Swords, which is a completely different energy. You got all this passion, all this blood rushing, and the Leo moon just days ago. And then we come in, and here's the Queen of Swords, right? The completely, there's freedom of mind and soul, there's independence, there's wisdom and perception, and we're moving from analysis to application. But what does she have? She has a head, and it's pretty clear that she has chopped this head off, right? This is a very clear mark of separation, right? For as much as there is gracefulness and perception here, there is also a distinct separation from I don't want to say reality, but because the Queen is about the water, about feeling, about experience, and about transmitting. But at the same time with the swords, she's just very perceptive, and she is able to just cut things off. And remember, we talked a lot about this last week because Mars was on fixed star Algol and is finally moved off of it and is now in conjunction with the Pleiades themselves, cutting off the head of the beast. So here we are. I believe that the passion and the fire was the purification process that led us to this point, to allow us to be like, okay, I know, and some people, this was cut off for us, right? Based on outer circumstances that, that made themselves clear to us. This may have been an internalized experience for you, but some measure of combustion and passion and energy has come in and infused us with passion to do something. And now we're in this moment where it's like, we have to cut off what has, what is not working. And that was the analysis of the full moon in Virgo. Virgo is analysis, and coming into Libra, which is the application. So this can seem like a real stopping point, especially if you really have a lot of energy, and then all of a sudden you were stopped in some way, or diverted in some way, or your head just got cut off in some way. Was something that you didn't expect. This is where we're at right now. Not to say this is a bad thing. Now, we do know, and in our conscious awareness, and what ultimately represents our institutional power together, is being able to keep digging. We have to keep digging under the mysteries. Here's the full moon right here that shows us the full illumination of what's often hidden, but we need to keep at it. Uriel is an archangel and is the fire of God. It allows us the transformative power of fire, right? The ability to catalyze a reaction in order to use the heat, to have the impetus, right? Here's that passion again. We do know that we have to direct this energy into getting to the deeper aspect of ourselves, especially individually and personally, as well as collectively, because these things are inseparable ultimately. And this is what a sun in Pisces really teaches us, is that it's inseparable. We can't be separated from how our energy impacts the whole. There's no way around that. So we do know that we have to keep digging into the mysteries of who we are, where we came from, to understand ourselves and our motives. We do see this. It's in our awareness. And I think that this is where we get our collective power from in this situation. Now, personal power and what's in the subconscious, what is rooting us, the Queen of Keys reversed, there's an emotional distancing to a certain extent. And if you had something come up that really challenged you, you can bet you're going to start emotionally distancing if you have not integrated that experience. And some things are just so painful and so overwhelming that you have to, in some ways. It's just a defense mechanism. And it's time to consider, right, aspirations and what brings you fulfillment. Okay, this is a sign that we are collectively still not really rooted in what brings us fulfillment. We're not confident and authoritative in what we have surrounding us and what we're responsible for, which is our own reality, which is the people that we have committed to, whatever that means, what we are growing, right? The Queen of Keys, the Queen of Pentacles, this is the pregnancy card. This is what is it that we are nurturing and protecting and being secure or providing security for. This is all, again, very varied based on our own experience. But I will say that there is a distancing here and not being able to see what brings us fulfillment. And so there's a lot of moodiness. There's a lot of foolishness. There is weakness. There's dependency. This is where the subconscious energetic root is right now. And it's not very stable and secure. So, and that's okay. And sometimes having that disruption, with a moon in Libra that wants to find balance in our relationships and wants to experience a sense of balance within, in a quincunx to Uranus and Taurus. It's just like, well, that's great, but we still have to deal with the physical material reality being disrupted on a regular basis that challenges us to see where things are going, but also live in the moment of what is. And this is really throwing us off, I think, because we don't feel very secure in the reality around us. And that has to do, again, with the full moon and what we saw with that. So where we're headed with the art, this is Temperance, right? The art of alchemy. When it's reversed, there's a real potential here to actually get into the extremes and splitting up and tearing apart rather than finding the balance and the coagulation that Sagittarius and the art of alchemy really represents. Okay, and this is really directed to, again, the fact that we had all of this fire, energy, passion, and it just kind of gets cut off. Seemingly gets cut off from what we learned with this full moon, and not feeling very grounded or secure in who we are and where our power comes from, which is, this connection to the earth, really. There's a real potential here, again, getting into extremes, tearing apart, not really finding temperance, but getting more into the opposition. And this also with its reverse, this also can be a focus on this process internally. The process of alchemy, spiritual alchemy, is going to be much more of an internal process, because we do see that we have to keep digging. We have to keep using that fire, right? Fire is it's the friction fire under the cauldron that allows for the Sagittarian energy, the temperance, right? The alchemy to even happen. And I talked a lot about this. This is why the wisdom comes from the fire, because it is the understanding of our experience. And I feel like that we're not understanding our experience as well as maybe we will in a little bit. And this is why this is inverted in this way, because we're going to pull apart even more in order to because we don't feel grounded. We don't feel secure. We feel weak and dependent. And as we look at the guidance moving forward here, with Uriel and the Sphinx, here's Archangel Michael reversed. We definitely feel disempowered in some way. I don't think we feel completely empowered to do the work we know we need to keep doing, which is digging further down, getting to the root of who we are, getting to the mysteries of who we are collectively. It's time to reconnect to our real power source, which is, in fact, the natural world. We are inseparable from it. And so there is a growing feeling of loss or weakness. It's important to let go of our old perceptions and have them burn away. Believe me, Pluto is going to help with this and has been every step of the way. It's about to get even more difficult when we don't have a pathway anymore, and we have to forge our own pathway up the mountain. So it's important to let go of our old perceptions because they're going to be pulled away anyway. So we might as well tap into this divine power so that we can feel a sense of empowerment within ourselves to keep doing this work. And one thing we can do is be vigilant about the current situation. Pay attention to the signs and the omens and the synchronicities. Let them dictate your choices, not what other people are saying. Because as we keep moving through things and we keep relying on outside sources to give us information, and when they are contradicting each other or they don't feel right, then we get stuck in that tailspin. Again, it's about getting into our own guidance and feeling empowered through that, as opposed to so-and-so said that these things are going to happen and I'm not seeing evidence of it, or any number of things that had happened over the weekend with the full moon and what we saw and what conclusions we came to about ourselves as a result of that. Be vigilant about what's going on and pay attention to your own guidance system and let them dictate your choices, or at least inform your choices, as opposed to waiting for anybody outside of you to give you the green light to think this, that, or anything else. Of course, there are great sources of information, but ultimately at the end of the day, it's up to each of us individually to come to an understanding based on our own experience. Okay. Again, the 5 of Keys, we're really having a hard time, I think, feeling grounded and confident and secure in the world around us. But this is saying we are building here. This is what we are bringing towards us. And so we have to make room for this to happen. And if we keep focusing on where we're going, and there's a difference between hopium and actually doing real law of attraction work and understanding it, as opposed to like really understanding it. And it's about your resonance and aligning with this. You can't align with this unless you're in resonance with it. And we are definitely out of resonance, I would say, to a certain extent, because we got thrown off by the full moon, right? We had a lot of passion coming into the moment. And then we're like, whoa, what did we just experience? Something that threw us way off our center. Those instances too are part of this process. So know that it's coming, and use your intuition and your intellect to solve the problem or get answers, right? When it's a little bit too much intellect, it's still with the Queen of Swords. It's important. And we have the moon in Libra, and it's trining all of that Aquarius and the North Node in Gemini. A lot of mind work right now, but you also have to use your intuition. You have to, and that is the feeling part. Understanding, yes, that is about the knowledge, the analysis, and the understanding is part of it. But experience is a feeling thing. You experience something because you have a feeling about a behavior or an action or something that's presented to you. So we have to use our intuition too, as well as we go through this process. And I know that that's hard to do when you're inundated with signals and you're not giving yourself the time to step back and let it settle into your body, which was pretty clear for me this weekend. And so problem solving and agility and insight and wisdom comes from bringing these two aspects of our awareness together, the intuition and the intellect. It's really important. So that's the transmission for today. I hope everybody is doing well, taking good care of themselves, drinking lots of water, being mindful of what you're consuming. If you are interested in a reading or energy work, because Reiki is incredible for helping mitigate these symptoms and giving your body a sense of peace and wellness, you can book through catalystenergies.net. It's in the description box below. Reach out on Telegram, on Facebook if you want to. I do a lot of writing that I update there as well. And thanks for being here. Thanks for doing the work for all of us, right? This is really about each of us doing the work so that we can all get there together, because it is really where we go one, we go all. Like there's no separating ourselves from the collective experience. And we can really learn a lot by the Sun and Venus right now in Pisces teaching us that lesson. So take it easy, take one step at a time, nourish your body, be mindful of what you are putting into your body and your mind, and take it one step at a time. We're doing great, guys. It's not easy going somewhere where there is no path anymore. And that is exactly where we are headed, is there's no path anymore. And Pluto is going to slowly but surely destroy every hash mark along the trail as we are headed up this mountain of ascension, which is a very natural process. So keep that in mind. If you like this content and you find it helpful, please subscribe either on YouTube or BitChute. Hit that like button. It really helps the message to get out. YouTube is really stifling a lot of their independent content creators, regardless of their content. So if you're still on YouTube, that's great. If you want to check out alt tech platforms, I'm on BitChute as well, and you can watch it there, the recording. They don't have a live streaming function yet. So you can watch the recording and also subscribe and like this video so it can reach more people and we can keep building a community that is supportive of each other. I'm not here to tell you what you want to hear, and I'm not here to give you predictions or dates. I am here to facilitate the activation of your highest potential, which is really our highest potential. So take care of yourselves. I love you guys. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.